So now you've made and coloured all the components, we can go ahead and assemble. You could use Nile green for the more mature parts of the stem, but equally Nile green would be absolutely fine, and then you can actually colour this using some of the pink to make some of the stems look brown, especially the one where you've got the hips on the, because these would be towards the end of the life of the flower. So to put initially the buds together, what we would do is pick out the smallest ones. Now I've sectioned these off, so I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 of the larger ones and a couple of small ones, and then a group of smaller ones here, which can go together as a separate sprig. Just going to swap that one around so that we've got a bit of size difference for variation. It does look good if you've got a variety of sizes, so we'll pop that one in there as well. So taking the smallest ones first, we can assemble or tape slightly lower down. Excuse the state of my fingers, it's obviously the petal dust. And make it so that the curved ends, the top of the curve is facing inwards, so they look like they're talking to each other. This can then be brought up to the base of where the bud begins. And that way you've got a nice tight start. And depending on what bunches of buds you've got, you want to then start to assemble in size order. So next smallest and so on. But my taping is actually lower down for the time being. So it doesn't matter if you can see wire. Okay. I just try and place them a bit offset around the stem, working your way up the sizes, one twist each time you add a wire in. It also helps a little bit if you maybe bend them back a little bit. So you put your nail at the base there and just tip the bud back, and then it can go in. And if they move around, maybe leave it till you've put them all in, and then you can just make a bit of an adjustment, just so that you're not handling them too much as they're prone to breaking at the base. So pushing back, find a place for that one. Tape along. Kind of space them out a little bit so you can see what's going on. You can see the smallest ones in the center. And then depending on how it all looks, you could then add in your flower. Now the flower, the fingers is going to face inwards. The thumb faces outwards. So have a look at the flower buds and just decide where you want to put that one. So it looks like I've got a nice little gap there. So we can just maybe tape that in. And then you can tape upwards. Now I've got a bit of excess petal dust, pink petal dust on my finger. And because this is a slightly more mature stem, it could be starting to redden or brown, depending on what time of the year it is. So I can roll that stem using colour on my finger will come off onto the stem, and that will give it a good shade. So you can just maybe take a little bit more and rub that in just to give it some interest, just a bit more detail. And then we can have a look at the placement of these buds and just kind of move them around a little bit so that the flower looks more natural. So that is your main stem of flowers and buds. We then have the smaller stem here, which we can do the same to, starting with the smallest ones, tipping them backward, making sure that the head of the top of the bud is facing inwards. Tape around both of them and then pull the tape up to the top here so that they're all at the same level and nice and tightly packed in. And then you can go ahead and add your smaller buds around. Again, not worrying about having to tape too closely. Tape up and then back down. And this one's a younger stem, so possibly you keep it green. The bud is ready to go in. You could perhaps colour this a little bit. So taking a little bit more petal dust onto my finger and thumb, I can just roll that around. And our leaves have got a twist of tape on each one. Now, to put it all together, which is quite straightforward, you could change to your stem, kind of your twig color tape if you wanted to, or continue with your Nile green. And here I'm feeling like I want to actually just tip the leaf back a little bit right at the base here, and maybe take this one into about here. Now I've curved the stem of the rose hip just a little bit, and that leaf hasn't quite gone in tight, so I could just give it a little tug so it's tight up here. And maybe on here we could consider that this set of buds might be lower than the others. So we could curve, it's kind of hanging down in on the weight, the weight of the flower is kind of dragging it that way, and this one could curve the other way. And we can take this one, get that taped on here. And thinking the bud maybe would want to be a little bit higher up. Actually, maybe we should have put that on first. So I'll just take this down a bit further, because we want the stems. It is quite a stemmy bush. So nothing's really tightly taped in once it's in its sprig form. It's just tightly taped in when it's when you're putting all the buds and flowers together. So let's take that off again, and maybe pop this one so it's coming up higher, because of course it's a more mature part of the plant. And at the point where this joins, it might benefit from a medium-sized leaf, because I've actually made a smaller, medium and a larger leaf from the process I showed you, using the process I showed you earlier. And now I can add in my little bud, and that could perhaps have a leaf on it as well. So we'll have a look to see how that can bend backwards. Could add, I'm just looking at how that is coming together. I think it's quite nice to put, you could have a more mature leaf on there, although I'm not sure. Let's have a look. Quite like it. So just use my tape and attach. The trick with this is I like to bend things out of the way. So you could clamp and use tweezers, clamping here, but then push back with your fingers so you get a nice tight bend. And then we'll pop, straighten the stem out. We'll pop that leaf on about here. And we can tape down in the same way. And now we can add that bud sprig where we would like. So that looks quite nice in there. Tape down. That's quite a nice little arrangement. Now, the last thing that I wanted to show you was how you varnish, put the glaze on. And for me, the glaze is not very nice. It's something that will damage your surfaces. So make sure that you've got a piece of kitchen towel, something that will absorb the moisture. So what I normally do with the confectioner's glaze is decant some of it into a bottle with a brush, and I actually store it, and I have to show you this because it's pretty yucky, but I store it in a pot in a bag, because with the best will in the world, it will leak. Even if it stood upright, it leaks. The lid will also stick, so you need to boil the kettle with some and pour some hot water on it, but do that over the sink, and perhaps have a piece of kitchen towel down, so that as it melts the varnish is going onto the tissue rather than onto your sink. And we can glaze, you can let it dry, and then you can reglaze. Let's just watch out you don't splash anything with it, and certainly want to put the lid back on when you're done. You can see that's giving it a lovely shine. This will take about 10 minutes to dry, and then you can add more varnish if you would like. And that is your finished sprig of honeysuckle. So I want to say thank you for watching, and if you've got any questions, do get in touch. Email is hannah@inspiredcreations.uk.com, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye bye for now.